Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So Ayushi and I have two kids and we have hit a milestone, important milestone, that we are going to invest 1 CR each for both of the kids, and that's a very important milestone for us. Luckily, we have been able to achieve it. So on this video, we are going to speak about financial planning for kids and how we are doing it. अब आप बोलोगे यार ये बोरिंग बात है, यहाँ पे तो टिंडर पे राइट स्वैप नहीं आता, and you are speaking about रिश्ता बनाओ, बच्चे पैदा करो and all that stuff. So no, we are not trying to define your life choices. On that note, एक interesting question पूछता हूँ. So people who are not getting right swaps and रिश्ता, so any golden words or word of advice for them?
I think it is all a matter of luck. अगर होना होता है तो हो जाता है. And even if it is not the case, then I think this video is going to be super useful for you, because जो भी 1 करोड़ हो, 10,000 हो, 1 लाख हो, जो भी amount है, that is going to help you invest for your future. And if not for your future, whatever assets you have. For us, our children are our assets, so we are going to invest for them.
Also, before making any type of investment decisions, it is critical that you create a safety bucket for you and your family. Therefore, have an insurance. In the last 1 year, the insurance premiums have gone up dramatically by more than 50%. It is critical that you have insurance, वरना आप जितनी bucket बना लो, right, in terms of investment, it can get entirely wiped out if there is any kind of emergency problem at home. COVID was a stark reminder. So on that note, definitely go and check out our sponsors for today, which is Ditto. They are an excellent platform where you can go and speak with an insurance expert, understand what type of term insurance you need, what type of health insurance you need, and accordingly you can buy the right type of insurance for you and safeguard your family. So with that note, let's move over to the main video. Right, so just to contextualize it, so whatever money you are putting in now, for example, Ayushi and I are putting in 1 CR each. We'll take you through the entire plan, why we have decided this 1 CR, what quantum of money should you decide, which investment vehicle, mutual fund हो गया, equity हो गया, gold हो गया, सुकन्या समृद्धि हो गया, which of these options should you explore and why. We'll give you rationale. So in case you're doing that planning, that future planning, whatever investments you are making today, 20 years from now, how that is going to help you without kids, this video is still going to be very useful. So let's begin. And question number 1, how did we reach that 1 CR mark? What do you think is the right number? कैसे कुछ decide करना है? If you can just shed some light on that as per whatever you think is the correct version here.
See, I think there is no right or wrong number here per se. It really depends on the family and what is their frame of mind. So हमने जो framework use करा था, that was basically what are our future goals and what are going to be major kharchas, major expenditures for our kids. So for example, we want to be in a position where if our kids want to study abroad sometime in the future, they are able to do so. So उसके लिए we thought that 1 crore probably for each kid is a good enough number. And also keeping in mind that 1 crore, if we invest now, it is going to grow at a certain rate in the future, which we are going to discuss subsequently on the video. But because of inflation and because of other conditions, that value is going to decrease, right? So keeping that in mind, keeping in mind our financial position, we decided that 1 crore for each of our kids is going to be a good enough number.
Right. So just to help you understand that viewpoint further, so right now we are putting 1 crore in a lump sum format for our kids. Our daughter is 7 months old, our son is 3.5 years old as of now, so fairly younger side, right? So they would have to undergo that major kharcha when they are somewhere around 18-19, probably college education के आसपास. If they decide to study abroad, that's an option that we are keeping open. So वहाँ पे major खर्चा होगा, right? So whatever money we have investing today, 1 CR, that will probably go to like 8-10 CR or 12 CR depending on how we invest it from this point. That's a very important consideration. Usually अगर आपने SIP format में करना है, that is where most of us would be, then how to do it, how to do what type of SIP, in which format, what target return you should keep in mind, all those points we are going to discuss. But just wanted to set the context that 1 CR amount is fairly okay with us. जो बाकी का पैसा बचेगा, that Ayushi and I just going to blow it, right? We are going to travel and whatnot, and we are going to donate a lot of that money. So that's our viewpoint. So it's not as if that we have done some kind of Excel calculation and वहाँ पे we have picked out a number that 1 CR होना चाहिए. We have picked that number as of today because we feel that 1 CR has a lot of real buying power given our standard of living, and it would continue to serve well. So that 1 CR amount seems like a good benchmark for us.
And to be very honest, it might increase or decrease in the future. I think it is going to increase only given the inflation and all, but it can increase. So for each family, the number could be different. So it is really up to you. What are your target? What are your goals? And what exactly you want for your kids or your kids aspire to be. So it really depends on all these things.
So on that note, now you might have a question that, okay, Ayushi and Akshat are saving like 1 CR each for their kids. How do I start this journey? What amount should I keep in mind? and lump sum nahi hai, I don't have lump sum money which I can put right now. So, but I get a monthly salary. So what is that amount that I should be looking at? So on that note, what we have done is that this is a financial calculator, and it teaches you a very important point that if you start putting 10,000 rupee as SIP amount, the value of it after 20 years becomes how much? It roughly becomes 1 crore. Now, if you do the same math or same computation at 25,000 rupee SIP, then it becomes roughly 2.5 crores. Now, this is the amount that you will be getting after 10 years. Now, on that note, I'll bring in Ayushi and I will try to help you understand through our brief discussion कि यार इस पैसे की value बचती कितनी है after 20 years. So from that note, if you can just quickly explain what is the value of deflation of money and जो होता है, the buying power of money, it keeps on going down. So what is the value of 1 crore after 10 years? If you can just go through that.
See, what this term would be called as the present value of future income, right? So if you invest 10,000 in an SIP format, so after 20 years it is becoming 1 crore rupees. Now after 20 years, given the inflation which is going on in the economy and assuming that inflation is going to increase over the years, the value would not be more than 20 to 25 lakhs.
Yeah.
Keeping that in mind, जो 1 crore 20 years from now होगा, that will be worth only 25 lakh rupees as of now. You have to calculate कि आपको कितना invest करना है and how much do you want it to increase, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, the SIP amount would depend on that, but given the world we live in today and given the inflation rate and how it is going to increase in the future, I think an amount of 20 to 25,000 of SIP would give you a good enough corpus.
Which would be inflation hedged, so
Yeah,
to say,
of course,
right? So
it
this
would
is
be
an important aspect, and एक और बार आपको बता देते हैं, जैसे for example, many a times mutual fund organization say, you know what, आप 10,000 की SIP चला लो, right, and it will become like X amount after a while. It is also very important when you are doing such long-term planning to understand what the value of that money will be when you delve deeper into the future after 20 years. So what the buying power of that money would be. So that is a very important consideration that you need to keep in mind. So on that note, let us move to section number 2, because अब ये section आपको समझ में आएगा अच्छे से, that for example, Ayushi and I was speaking about Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. So in Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, I think what is the rate of interest that people are making?
I think currently it is 8%.
8%. Now think about the fact that if the inflation in the economy is 6 to 7%, then what is the real return that you are making if you are locking in your money for 20 years? Yeah. So that is, Sukanya Samriddhi में कितना आपका lock in होता है, right, from a long term perspective?
So it is this scheme is basically for girl child only, yeah. Right? And the lock-in period is 21 years or till the time the girl child gets married after 18 years.
Right.
So like minimum is like 18 years, you would say.
Right. So this is a very popular scheme, right? And this is a debate that Ayushi and I also keep on having, whether this is sensible to do this type of investment or not. To be honest, to me, it does not make a lot of sense, simply because of the fact that inflation adjusted return तो आपको कुछ मिला ही नहीं, right? After 20 years, that your money will hardly grow. Now, just to put that in perspective, so for example, Ayushi and I are putting 1 CR in for each of our kids. Now, if we were to do that for our daughter, and if the rate of interest on that was roughly 8%, and if we simply put that money in index funds, for example, Nifty 50, which typically grows at 12%, roughly on an average, for a period of 20 years, because both are these long-term considerations we are making, so the corpus amount would be huge. So this would be the differential. So I'm just putting up the calculation here, and you can categorically see that there is a massive difference in terms of investing in schemes that are not generating an alpha compared to inflation. So alpha means कि यार inflation is 6-7% and the scheme is giving 8%, so alpha becomes 2. And if the inflation is 6-7% and equity returns are 12%, index returns are 12%, then alpha there would be typically 5 to 6%. So this just looks like यार 4-5% के तो अंतर है, लेकिन that literally cut your investment amount into half. So therefore, picking the right instruments for putting your money in becomes critical.
Now, my viewpoint on Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana is this, and it differs a little bit from what Akshat is saying. See, what my viewpoint is that in case you have already done the investments in index funds or equities, right? And we mostly have done that, and your target of whatever you wanted to invest in equities is already met, right? And you have surplus lying in your savings account, then why not invest that particular amount? Maybe the minimum amount that you have to invest in Sukanya Samriddhi is 250 rupees, and the maximum can be up to 1.5 lakh, right? So why not invest some of that in Sukanya Samriddhi, which is giving a return of 8% as of now, which is much higher than what other government-backed schemes are giving, for example, PPF, right? So Sukanya Samriddhi is still giving a higher returns, and if you have surplus money, then why not invest it there? Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana is basically a scheme to help people build a corpus for their girl children in order to, promote girl education, girl empowerment, whatever, right? But the point is that if you have surplus money and it's lying idle in the savings account, then might as well invest it in Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, right?
Right. So I partially do agree and disagree with this viewpoint simply because of the fact that if you are saying that, you know what, money is lying in our savings account, we don't really need it, so Sukanya Samriddhi mein kar dete hain. So that spare money is something that is used for taking growth investment opportunities. That is not like, safe investment opportunities in my opinion. You can still buy something like Nifty 50 in a country like India, where the stock markets are typically rising. If you can handle that volatility, and again, the viewpoint is that Sukanya Samriddhi locks in your money for a substantial period of time. And again, if you're locking your money for a substantial period of time in Nifty 50, then you can easily circumvent that volatility that comes with it. And therefore, because it's such a long-term scheme, I would say that it makes more sense to pick growth opportunities in that long duration.
Agreed. So basically, I would say that Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana or other such government schemes are for people, for two kinds of people. First is those who do not really know anything about stock markets and do not want to invest, or are hesitant about investing in stock markets. Second is for people who have a lot of money and it's lying idle. They don't know where to invest. They don't have any opportunities as such. They don't see a point in investing more in index funds or equities. So they might as well, put it in government-backed schemes like Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, because there is some kind of government guarantee that, the amount will be returned. And third, for people who want to avail deductions under 80C, so Sukanya Samriddhi is included there as well.
Right. So just to make it clear, we are not investing in Sukanya Samriddhi. Where exactly are we investing? We will reveal it along the video towards the final section of the video. Now let's quickly talk about another very popular government scheme, which is sovereign gold bonds. If you can help us understand the return part of it, what SGBs are, tax benefit वगैरह मिल जाता है, so people get very excited कि tax benefit.
So sovereign gold bonds are government bonds basically, which are indexed with the gold prices, and you get a return of around 2.5% annually. This is again a good scheme for people who don't want to invest in gold, the metal gold per se, and don't see a point in giving out the making charges or giving out the additional charges that jewelers ask for. So SGBs are a good instrument to invest in. The pros and cons very briefly are, the pros are that it is a government backed scheme, so the government guarantee is there. Secondly, in the last few years, commodity prices have increased, gold prices have also increased. So since SGBs are linked to the prices of gold, then that means it will give a higher return. The con is that the price cycle of commodities and metals like gold is fairly long. That means that you might not be able to get that means that you might not be able to get as high returns as probably investing in index funds or equities.
So just to contextualize that, basically in terms of the market cycle of gold has typically given around 3.5% return if you take a 30-year averaging period. Last 3-4 सालों में बढ़ गया, so that does not mean that gold will keep on doubling after every 4-5 years, right? So that is unlikely to happen. Gold has a very long cycle. Don't get swayed by the fact that gold हमेशा बहुत अच्छा return देता है. Second key point that you need to understand here is that it is still a government bond, right? And government bond means that this is still paper money. This is not real hard asset. For example, when you own physical gold, and if there is government default for some reason, then that gold is still valuable because it is in physical format with you. But with a government bond, if the sovereign fails or the government fails, then those pieces of paper become worthless, right? So that is the point. Now that's a doomsday scenario that I'm speaking about, but that's a consideration.
But in case of anarchy, even metal gold will not help because there'll be riots everywhere.
So that's an entirely different point altogether, but the commodity will still have value, very similar to how the situation was during Great Depression. That gold, physical gold still had value, right? But the bonds did not. So, okay. So on that note, let us just quickly put structures in. So we, number one, discuss the traditional forms of instrument, SGB and Sukanya Samriddhi, which are very popular. You can again go and explore post office schemes and बहुत सारी स्कीमें होती हैं. There is a slow point.
What is Mahila Samman Nidhi?
Okay, all right.
That's again a 2-year lock-in period.
2-year lock-in. Okay, and what is the rate of return?
I think around 7.5%.
So that is very low, right? To be honest, it's extremely low. तो आप I think IDFC First Bank में FD करा लो तो उसमें ज़्यादा नहीं मिल रहा, right? So you are getting it, no, around 7.5 only.
Yeah, again, as I said, for two kinds of people who want to, don't want to invest in stock markets or have surplus money.
Okay, so on that note, let me just quickly clarify because बहुत सारे लोग बोलेंगे यार अक्षत तो stock market में इतनी volatility होती है. You are encouraging everyone to put money in stock market. See guys, basically the point is that here, when we are speaking about financial planning for kids, we are looking at a 20-year horizon, right? That's a fairly long period of time. And I'm talking about index investing. I'm not speaking about picking individual stocks, this, that. The risk in a growing equity market of a nation where the nation itself is growing, the risk goes down quite considerably. That's the viewpoint that I want to highlight. And stock market को भी manage करा जाता है, right? The government cannot let the stock market go in a secular decline. यहाँ पे जापान का केस आने लग जाता है, बहुत सारे लोग पूछते हैं जापान में नहीं हुआ था कि जापान में भी तो गिर गया था स्टॉक मार्केट, राइट? एंड 20 साल से रिटर्न नहीं बनाया एंड ऑल दिस स्टफ. सी वेरी डिफरेंट रीजंस. आई हैड डन अ सेपरेट वीडियो, यू कैन गो एंड चेक इट, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड इट मोर. जापान हैज अ डिक्लाइनिंग पॉपुलेशन, जापान हैज अ एज which is going down. They have to manage a lot of things. Their economy is structurally very different from India. So those examples that Japan stock market going down, therefore India stock market will also go down, it doesn't play. So for me, equity market at an index level for the 20-year horizon, that is safe, right? So therefore, like, I have somewhat pushed Ayushi to put a lot of money in equities from that perspective, even for our kids. So okay, so now many people might be scared of putting money in equities. So उस केस में म्यूचुअल फंड्स कर सकते हैं, राइट? सो इफ यू कैन स्पीक अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड, योर थॉट प्रोसेस अराउंड इट. भूल जाओ दैट यू आर वाचिंग माय वीडियोस, दिस दैट. सो हाउ डू यू थिंक अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टिंग? टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट डू यू फील सेफ्टी इन इट, एंड करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए, इफ यू कैन स्पीक.
See, as a salaried person, when I started my job, I used to invest in mutual funds. And
Before she met me. Okay, so anyways, go.
yeah, that's true. Probably because our parents also used to invest in mutual funds, and that is the less risky instrument compared to investing directly in stocks and equities. So we have been investing in mutual funds. Now, of course, the proportion has come down drastically, but it is a safer instrument, no doubt. And it gives higher returns compared to other instruments such as SGBs and the government schemes like Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana or PPF. So mutual funds are a good option for those who do not want to take a lot of risk by directly investing in stocks, and who also want to get higher returns than these alternate investment opportunities.
So यहाँ पे comfort factor रहता है यार, some professional is managing our money, so कर दो invest. So now comes the natural question that what type of mutual fund should you pick? This is not a sponsored video, but I'll take a name of a company. It is called as Parag Parekh Flexi Cap Fund. Now the reason why I'm talking about that company is very simple, that they have their investment thesis has remained true. Flexi Cap means that your money can move around like debt plus equity ka mix mein. It gives more flexibility to the investment manager. So if you are investing in mutual fund for a 20-year period, 30-year period, so usme flexibility rahe with the mutual fund manager, it kind of makes more sense. So for this specific purpose, right, I'm taking this particular name called as Parag Parekh Flexi Cap Fund. Now this is not a sponsored video, I'm just using it as an example. I think that the fund is good. Flexi Cap में होता है क्या है कि you don't have to make the consideration of small, mid and large cap. As per the market dynamics, the fund manager will rotate capital जहाँ पे उनको ठीक लग रहा होगा. And because you are giving that 20-year viewpoint, right, then having that flexibility with the fund manager makes sense. Otherwise, I would typically not pick these type of funds. I have personally not invested my money in it. Reason is कि I directly pick equities. But if someone or a general investor is just looking कि यार चलो ठीक है index में नहीं करना, that also looks little bit risky. I just want to go via mutual fund route. What type of mutual fund should I pick? Should I pick small cap, mid cap, large cap? A flexi cap कर लो, that is better on a 20-year basis. That gives you both an opportunity for growth and availing of the expertise by the mutual fund manager in order to generate some alpha for you. So that's the viewpoint about mutual fund. That's what we would like to highlight. One critical point that people miss is that gold में कर लेंगे, सुकन्या समृद्धि में कर लेंगे, equities में कर लेंगे. All these things are not cash flows, right? So cash flows means that you're not getting like regular coupon payments कि हर 6 महीने में आपके पास कुछ पैसा आ रहा है and all that. So having that cash flow based assets is again very critical. So over to Ayushi, how are we building our cash flow based asset for our kids? Any viewpoint there?
So yes, this is a very, very critical point, and I think a lot of us miss out on this particular aspect. Building an alternate cash flow is also a thing that we should keep in mind while planning for our children. So for example, we have started investing in real estate in Goa. We have actually invested in a few properties, and we plan to use these properties to run a short-term rental business. So this is an additional source of income that we have generated for our family, and whatever proceeds we get from that business, we are going to invest for our kids in the name of our kids. So this is again an important aspect that we need to consider.
Right. So just adding on to that, basically now a question might come, यार 1 crore रुपए आप invest कर रहे हैं, how can you buy real estate? See, real estate is purchased on leverage, right? For example, in order to buy a 1 CR property, you need to invest only 20 lakhs. Rest 80 can be leverage or the loan that you can take. Now, as long as the property is generating a rental yield, right? So in Goa, for example, most of our properties are generating between 6 to 11% yield right now, so which is very, very high, right? So on that respect, जो भी हमारी EMI बनती है, we are able to pay it off just by using cash flows. So even in that 1 CR that we are investing for our kids, we can buy 1 crore real estate just by putting in 20-25 lakhs. So that's how we are planning the cash flow part of their portfolio. Now, one of the biggest benefits of doing this type of planning is that when opportunities come, for example, मान के चलो कि if there is a market crash after 3 years, 4 years, and if cash flow is coming, you can utilize that to purchase other things at much discounted prices. So on that note, I will hand it over to Ayushi and she will just quickly take us through what are 3-4 key bullet points where we are putting in our money in 1 CR split, and we will just put it in a graphical format also, how we are personally investing in it. This is not a push कि आपने भी ऐसे ही करना है, right? But I hope that through this brief conversation you were able to get a sense how this entire planning is done. It is definitely complicated, but I'll hand it over to Ayushi and then I'll add some final points as to where we are investing for our kids precisely.
So primarily 50% of the 1 CR each for a kid, we are investing in index funds directly. And this is again because we are looking at a 20-year time horizon. So we are hoping that, it will increase in the future. Out of the remaining 50%, 20% are again in direct equities. These are blue chip stocks mostly, and you can watch Akshat's videos to know which blue chip stocks are we investing in. Now the rest 30% are basically in real estate. As Akshat already mentioned, that this is basically 30% means around 30 lakhs. This is basically because we have taken leverage, we have taken some kind of loan to invest in these particular properties, which are also giving us cash flow. So this is how we have split our 1 CR each of the amount that we are investing for each of our kids.
Right. The final note here would be that overall, looking at this 1 CR portfolio, I am personally very considerate about the fact how much overall return this portfolio will make. So just to help you understand, let's say 50% of 50 lakh of this entire amount is likely going to generate around 12.5%, which is the index return, which generates an alpha of 5-6% compared to index, right, which typically आपको कहीं और नहीं मिलेगा. Similarly, blue chip stocks that Ayushi spoke about, I handpicked them. जैसे American stocks I have picked a few for my kids. India में blue chip discounted stocks I have picked. These are likely to generate more than 12% because here I'm likely to beat the market because I'm picking undervalued assets. And real estate that we have picked, it's not like sitting at 2-3% yield वाला real estate जो typically आपको दिल्ली मुंबई में मिलता है. Here we are deliberately picking real estate which is generating between 6 to 11% yield, right? हाँ, आपको लगेगा कि हम हवा में बातें कर रहे हैं, 6-11% yield कहाँ होती है, right? You just have to scout it really well. Probably separate video on this topic. But I hope that this gave you a sense how we are designing this 1 CR portfolio for our kids. Anything final points you want to add, or should we close out?
I'd just like to add on that 6 to 11%. Now, I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of comments that 6 to 11% तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा हो गया. लेकिन it is actually true. Just as Akshat spoke about undervalued assets in stock markets, there are undervalued real estate opportunities also which you need to scout for, and we have been doing that for a long time in Goa, and that is why we have been able to achieve that target of getting a very high yield. So this is what we are planning for our kids. Again, final disclaimer, this is what we are planning and it may not be true for all families. Everybody has to plan according to their own financial situation, according to what their targets are, and according to what their kids aspire to be, right? That is where we close the video. Thank you so much, and in case you have any questions, please do leave them in the comment box below.